Have you ever tried to bind a key in Hammerspoon, only to find yourself scratching your head over how to bind multiple presses? It can be a bit tricky, right? If that's you, then you're in the right place. Today, we're diving into how to bind to multiple button clicks in Hammerspoon. I totally get it. Binding keys is supposed to make your workflow smoother, but when you want to bind multiple presses, it can feel like you're hitting a wall. You're not alone in this frustration. Many users face similar challenges. Here's the specific question we're tackling today. One user asked, "How can I bind the number 1 key to trigger different actions based on how many times I press it?" They want to run one piece of code when they press it twice and a different piece when they press it 3 times. Sound familiar? Let's explore this together. So what's the challenge here? Hammerspoon's documentation doesn't explicitly mention binding multiple presses, which can leave users feeling stuck. But don't worry, we can work around this limitation with a little creativity. And stick around. I have a neat trick at the end that will make your key bindings even more powerful. You won't want to miss it. To bind multiple presses of the one key, the user can start by creating a variable to count the number of presses. This will help track how many times the key has been pressed. Next, the user should set up a timer to reset the counter after a short delay. This will allow the program to differentiate between single and multiple presses. Now, the user can bind the one key to increment the counter each time it is pressed. If the counter reaches 2, the user can execute the first piece of code. If it reaches 3, the second piece of code will run. Finally, the user should implement the specific actions for each press count. This is where the user can define what happens when the one key is pressed twice or 3 times. Fun fact, did you know that the first computer keyboard had only 26 keys? Imagine trying to bind multiple presses with that setup. We've come a long way since then. Now let's look at the answers provided by other users. An alternative approach suggests using the hs.eventTap function instead of binding multiple key presses directly. The user recommends creating a function that tracks keystrokes, appending each new character to a static variable. Then, check the last few characters to see if they match your desired sequence, like 11. Now, let's dive into a different answer from another user. This user suggests implementing a custom solution to bind multiple presses of the one key. They recommend starting a timer and using a flag to track the first press. By observing key presses with EventTap, you can check if the correct key was pressed and if it was within a specified time frame. The user provides a code snippet that demonstrates how to track key presses and execute different handlers based on the number of presses. They note that for more than 2 presses, you would need to set additional flags and checks, but this can complicate the user experience. That's all for that response. Let's see what someone else had to say. This user offers an elegant solution for binding multiple presses of the one key. They suggest using a timer to count key presses and execute different actions based on whether the key is pressed once, twice, or 3 times. The user includes detailed comments in their code to help beginners understand how it works. They emphasize that the solution can be adapted for more key presses if needed. Here's that neat trick I promised. You can also combine this method with other key bindings to create complex shortcuts that can really enhance your productivity. Just think of the possibilities. And there you have it. You now know how to bind multiple presses of a key in Hammerspoon. Remember, experimenting with your key bindings can lead to a more efficient workflow. If you found this helpful, hit that subscribe button for more tips and keep exploring the power of Hammerspoon.